Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price. You know that music anywhere. Taxman Bob Loeser. He's here in the house. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking with him about what's happening now on the tax front and what you need to be aware of. Bob, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you on this rainy day.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, first of all, what you see, what your clients are dealing with here today when it comes to tax issues. Here we are well into the month of July.
We're second half of the year. Well, when we talked last time, I was telling you that the IRS was, I won't say this loud, but purposely withholding large refunds because they ran out of money. Well, guess what? After the letters saying, we're reviewing your tax return, and within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we should have your refund back, they are now starting to give those big refunds back. I've had two clients, one that was owed about $32,000, got his back 10 days ago, and the big one, the $91,000 check, came in the mail Monday for one of my clients. So they're real happy. They're still holding others. So, I mean, if you filed today and had a $30,000 refund coming, my guess is where they tell you 4 to 6 weeks, it's more like 8 to 12 weeks. Woohoo!
All right, so tax time is finally getting to see some returns on those, and I heard that for 1 month we actually had a balanced budget. The federal government did for one whole month,
right?
And I think they wanted that just for that.
Correct. They wanted to be able to say that, so that right. So now that they've dispersed funds, I've actually told clients this year
they're back in miserable debt, $17 trillion and growing.
I've told my clients that in lieu of anticipating, expecting, or hoping for that large refund, we need to be closer to the vest, so to speak, this year. That, instead of waiting for the government to pay you your $90,000. Now, this case was strange because of certain things that happened with this client, but we're going to try to keep it under 20. The best or worst is if they were anticipating, hoping, expecting to use that money for something, and 12 weeks later they have to wait. Next year at this time, it'll be $20,000 instead of 40 or 50 or 60.
Not to mention the whole idea of not giving free loans to the government.
Correct,
I never quite understood.
They don't even give
idea.
you a thank you note, let alone interest on it. Well, interestingly enough, the one $90,000 one, after the 6 weeks, they actually did pay interest. They paid him like $179 in interest on his money.
I never heard of that. 6%. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, they're obligated if you send it in.
Small.
Well, first off, you've got to be able to prove when you mailed it. So those larger returns, we send certified return receipt. Once Mary Jones at the IRS in Austin stamps it and signs it, then the ticker starts running. So if you get past those 6 weeks, they pay interest. Yeah. And they are paying interest.
Is Mary Jones a real person?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just want to make sure. Okay, so we know where we are. Watch, I get an ugly letter from Mary Jones. And so, and I've been with the IRS for 42 years. But, so that's the good news. What's the thing that's now, harboring over people's heads?
Well,
when it comes to their taxes?
Certainly
not only federally, but state and local as well.
Right. I mean, federal-wise, I'm still battling a couple audits, interestingly enough, and we talked about those rogue agents in Cincinnati. I'd say to you, there's a couple rogue agents here in Houston too. You'll send them certified letters, you'll send them whatever, and they basically don't read the letters, don't pay any attention, then send the next notice out like they never got the letter in the first place when they did. Mm-hmm. I've got a client that owed the government, or they say that owed the government about $16,000. We amended a couple tax returns, and the amendments changed the returns to $16,000 so that they owe nothing. Even after that fact, we get a letter saying from the IRS, you still owe us $17,000. How would you like to pay it monthly over the next year and a half? Mm-hmm. We had it right back. We're not paying you monthly. We don't owe it to you. Mm-hmm. Who's your supervisor? Name, phone number, and badge number. We need to talk to somebody that's going to listen.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the certified letters.
Yeah. If they're not accurate, keep sending letters until you get the appropriate response. Maybe you start doing a little research, find some other names under to send letters to.
Correct.
But don't be like sheep.
Correct.
Like they hope you're going to be. And by the way, for those who are wondering about the reference about rogue agents in Cincinnati, referring to maybe the possibility that Tea Party groups that try to get tax exempt status couldn't because of these rogue agents. The idea of rogue agents in the IRS is kind of like rogue SS personnel under the Nazi regime. I know nothing. I mean, you talk about something that's so highly structured and regimented. Mm-hmm. These people would be summarily executed if they actually existed. Right. And so this cannot happen. The whole deal happened with the conservative groups unless higher ups were supporting it.
Well, what's interesting is these people, for example, if you're working on a case and you ask the agent that you're working with, we'd like to do this, 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 and that, they can't even accept and make that determination and sign off on it without at least one, if not two, supervisors' signatures.
That's right.
So to believe that there was a group of rogue agents sitting in the back playing blackjack and occasionally going, we need to get that Tea Partier, please don't insult my intelligence.
Absolutely. They were probably wondering, can our bosses do this?
Right.
But they were not, they were just useful idiots, in my opinion. And so, but it's so typical.
Right.
You try to blame as low as you possibly can.
Right.
How low can we go in blaming people?
Right. But you wanted a couple other answers as to taxes. I think everybody should plan for paying 5% more this year than they did last year.
Okay.
I mean, just from a standpoint of tax rates going up, certain things like dividends and capital gains being taxed at different rates this year compared to last year. We talked about that at year end, that one of my clients bought back a portion of his company stock and paid 15% tax, where this year, if he did it, it would now be 23.8% with the add-ons, 8% more. Stock was worth $1.2 million, so we're talking about a $90,000 tax savings. Mm-hmm. 8% difference between last year and this year.
Yep.
And we're planning on doing some similar things to that. State level, states going through their 4-year sales tax audits for a lot of clientele. I've got 2 of them going on, and it's interesting because they go about it the first go around and find nothing, and then they want to literally turn the same books upside down and shake it out to see if anything falls out, which is fine and understandable. You have to be patient for these 4-year audits, because once you get a clean bill of health, a good housekeeping seal of approval, they won't bother you again.
Yeah.
So, what you try to prove is give them everything they want up to a limit. Are we reporting everything? They're more interested in 2 things, the sales tax people. Are you paying sales tax on what you should be paying sales tax on? Like when you buy a new piece of equipment, or if you're your business, you buy some materials and then resell them. When you buy the materials, you don't have to pay tax on it. When you resell them, with the bump up in your profit, you have to charge the sales tax. Mm-hmm. Right? Same thing with again, what items, like personal service, like my business, is not subject to sales tax. But if I was selling software products, computer products, and internet, I'd have to charge sales tax for those things.
Yeah.
So that's available and visible out there. And then all this with the health care. What's covered, what's not covered, what's going to be pushed off to 2015. We've talked about this in the past. I don't think it's coming to fruition. I don't care how many times you hit me over the head, Kevin. It's not coming to fruition.
Yeah.
All right. And then, by the way,
the problem is that after 2014,
right,
you've got a Democrat running to beat whoever the Republican nominee is for president.
Right.
They want that, to become a referendum issue then.
Sure.
This could be extended into infinity. And interestingly, every politician will give speeches about the healthcare system they established for us that we'll never actually see. I think you're right.
And the fact that the IRS is going to run it for us. Oh, please. It's like the old, no disrespect to the Aggies. How many Aggies does it take to screw in a light bulb? 5, 4 of them that hold the ladder and 1 that holds the light bulb?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing with the IRS. Please.
Maybe on multiples of that, right?
Right.
So, great stuff. Again, always enjoy having Bob Loeser here. We call him Taxman Bob. He has great information on what you need to know on that, and it's why we bring him in. Kind of give us all a checkup in this. Taxman Bob at pdq.net. That's Taxman Bob at pdq.net. Any other thoughts on what's happening when you're...
No, I think people should look at, we're at half year. They should evaluate where their businesses are and where they will be and start doing their own planning. From a standpoint, because if you are going to pay 5% more in taxes and your income is higher to begin with, you need to prepare that you've got all the taxes paid by December 31st and aren't in the situation of either a large tax due amount or, as we just talked about a few minutes ago, a large refund. You don't need a large refund.
Yeah.
So if there's an option, there's a client that came in just recently and said, here's all my changes that are going on in my life this year. I'm getting a divorce and I've changed jobs, etc. And by the time it was said and done, he said, how much do I need to pay in addition? I said, you're not going to need to pay in addition, because you always have had refunds. So now we're just not going to have as big a refund.
That's all right. There you go. Prior preparation prevents poor performance, not to mention ulcers and all kinds of other things. So that's why you need someone like Bob in your corner. What's the number over there?
713-953-1272.
One more time.
713-953-1272.
All right, you might want to do what I do. Taxman Bob at pdq.net. And then, of course, I get him right here in the studio. Thanks so much, my friend.
Thanks. Great seeing you again.
You too. When we come back, more for you. We want to remind you, best content here, it shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. You're listening to The Price of Business.
'Cause I'm the